Purchase your tracks today. Purchase your tracks today.
Burn Live. Murray Wankley keeping you connected. Hashtagging these red eyes, changing the viewers' eye red, keeping underage smoking off social media. Ladies and gentlemen, this is gonna be. Got a new mic. I appreciate the mic. No playing with it. See the background. Very lovely. I appreciate it. Appreciate it. Welcome to another Burn Live show. Um, I got some new subscribers everywhere. I appreciate everybody coming through. I highly appreciate everybody coming through. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you're watching this show. Boy, I'm sweating bullets. Y'all, it's just something to get used to. I'm so used to having that mic cover up my mouth. Now, I have no excuses at all. None at all. Welcome to another Burn Live show, man. If y'all catching me on the Cannabis Conservative page, I appreciate it. You catching me on Facebook, Burn Live, I appreciate it. This is also, like I said, a marijuana league where we keep you connected. We do the news. We're putting in work. We're working hard. We're trying to give you all the good stuff. I have not looked up no stories today at all. At all, at all, at all, at all. I blame it on. I just blame it on today. Today was one of those days where, you know, you know, it's just one of those days, y'all. So let me get my diagram. Let me pull up my board of information so I can see what's going on. Actually, yeah, there's been a lot going on. Ain't no BSing. There ain't no time to even stop and stir. Actually, I did get asked to subscribe on my Cannabis Conservative page. I do appreciate everybody coming through, supporting us, vibing with us. Okay, y'all. Before we actually get into stories and stuff like that, you know, we got the WNBA, who's actually kind of quiet, strangely, even though they're popping off in the middle of the season. You got the NBA, who got playoffs that's going on right now. You also got internet shaming fathers. Now, I'm just seeing this story pop up. This is a 2-hour story. It just popped up. I think this story right here is a little bit more what we need to look into. Yeah, there's some more collusion about Russia and what's going on. You know how they always want to point at Russia hands and tell us who, what, when, where, why, and what we doing it for. So let's get into these blunts. Oh. Sweet show. I'm close up. Sweet show. Pink blunt, pink. Hey, for the month of October, I'm giving me a burn live. I'm smoking all pink, so y'all get ready for that. Get in tune. I'm really liking how this mic set up and look. Yeah.
Is, as I said, disparaging and demeaning him, showing images of a raid on his home and office. So supposedly a free man able to go wherever he wants as they raid everything that he has. Melissa Bell is out front.
Weapons, cash, bars of gold, and an impressive collection of wigs, at least 4, presumably used as disguises. Hints of the life of the Wagner boss, a garish interior complete with an indoor swimming pool, hot tub, and a giant stuffed alligator, as well as ammunition and many guns. The alleged St. Petersburg home and office of Evgeny Prigozhin purportedly raided and displayed on Russian state television, presenters calling it scandalous.
He was holding a defense in this house. Look at the office. Yevgeny Prigozhin's office, a flag and all. It's outrageous. Why would a man have so many guns?
Among the objects seized, several passports apparently belonging to Prigozhin using different aliases. The man himself hasn't been seen in public since his attempted coup last month. The Belarusian president and Putin ally Alexander Lukashenko, who says he'd given Prigozhin refuge, now claims he's gone back to Russia. The Kremlin refused to comment, but immediately after the attempted coup, Vladimir Putin had hinted that the finances of his former ally would be investigated.
I hope nobody stole anything while all this was going on, or didn't steal much. But of course, we will deal with all of this.
According to the Russian president himself, Prigozhin's catering company had received almost $2 billion in military and government.
Ladies and gentlemen, ever since my boy Dennis came over here, 3 weeks ago, and talked about Russian 1928, my 1928 guy, we have been seeing small stories come across the tube about gold and Russia colluding with China and trying to get rid of our currency, or technically start their own brand new currency or trying to wipe out America. We as Americans, I can't help it to say that our president really got us looking weak, bro. It's so serious. It's such a shame.
Contracts. But it was Prigozhin's propaganda machine that Russian authorities targeted first, blocking media companies and websites linked to the man behind the failed putsch last week.
We are closing down and leaving the country's information space.
Yet in many ways, Prigozhin's empire may be too big to fail, as the mercenary group still has a significant presence in Africa.
Hey, them niggas. Them niggas. Hey, why they say be African Mamba nah you know I'm pronouncing.
Can't read Swahili.
Right? Y'all see that said be Africa.
But I think that's Swahili.
That might be Swahili. You might be right. Y'all, I got my producer in a building with me today. Forgot to throw out that announcement. But jokingly, seriously saying, that looks like it said be Africa covered into something with the end of Russia. I'm just saying. I know I'm wrong. I'm just throwing it out there when Russia policing other countries besides just Russia, and you got a black man posterizing.
The fate of the agreements between those African countries and PMC Wagner is up to the leadership of those countries to decide.
As to the fate of Prigozhin himself, his apparent home is now empty. The giant sledgehammer that symbolized the brutal Wagner group, abandoned, and its name, so long lionized and feared, now being erased as quickly as authorities can manage. Erin, the question of where Evgeny Prigozhin is now matters enormously. What we heard from Alexander Lukashenko today was that his men, the Wagner mercenaries themselves, were still at their Russian bases in the south of Russia itself. That is also important. What you hear on those images when you see the interior of Prigozhin's house is commentary from the anchors suggesting that this is part of a criminal investigation. What is seized will now be part of that, and the verdict will come at some point. If indeed Prigozhin is on Russian territory, that matters because it suggests that the Kremlin may need him more than they're suggesting as part of that raid. Erin, back to you.
All right, Melissa, thank you very much. And I want to go now to Bill Browder, longtime Putin critic. He's wanted in Russia, and the retired Army Lieutenant General Ben Hodges. And I appreciate both of you very much. Bill, so obviously we haven't seen Prigozhin since that armed rebellion 12 days ago. The part of the deal that was announced was he was going to Belarus.
I'm thinking about getting
Lukashenko
this
says
put
he's
on
in
a
St.
shirt.
Petersburg, maybe in Moscow. And we're seeing,
look.
but he's a free man. He can do whatever he wants. And I talked to
With
him on
the
the phone
microphone
yesterday.
right there,
Even though they've
with the
raided
burn
his houses
live.
and taken everything out of it and are, humiliating him with all these wigs and everything else that they're parading around. What is going on here, Bill?
Well, I think first and foremost, he's committed the cardinal sin
we're gonna get some
of
new
making
merch.
Putin look weak. Putin prides himself on being a strongman dictator, and Prigozhin basically just sliced that reputation in half by marching on Rostov. Nobody stood in his way. They were cheering him on, taking selfies with him, going on to Voronezh, and then getting within 2 hours of Moscow. He's kind of a folk hero in Russia, and he makes Putin look like a very weak man. And so what's going on right now is the Russians are in a state of apoplexy, Putin particularly, because he's been challenged. His entire sort of strongman image has been challenged. So Prigozhin surely doesn't want to be.
Now listen to us. We up here speculating, for people that don't understand, people that's listening. We're up here speculating that Russia is fighting against Russia inside of their political stance, their political wealth. If people, I haven't explained this, I don't know if people understand Putin's job. It's almost like the president. Putin's job is to make sure that the lobbyists, the Russian lobbyists, get what they want and what they need without no hassle. He is their face. He is their frontier. He is their voice. He's almost like Putin is almost like Beyonce at a concert.
Found right now. I can imagine that if they're doing all these movies and opening these criminal cases against him, they would love to kill him if they could get their hands on him. And so he's probably gone to ground. He's a very dangerous man. He has a whole army of mercenaries and people loyal to him.
Yes.
And what we're seeing right now is.
But you think
probably
he's
5%.
gone to ground and he's alive in Russia?
Who knows? I mean, he has so many different ways. We saw the wigs, we saw the passports, we saw the cash. There was a helicopter, in his front yard. He's got all. I mean, this man is incredible in terms of the tools that he has to, evade capture. I mean, he's the most cold-blooded killer out there, and so he's not going to just allow himself to be handcuffed and carted away to Lubyanka, the FSB prison. No,
Right.
it's not. That's not going to happen. And so, everyone says, how much longer does he have to live? Well, he's got all these killers on his payroll. How much longer do these guys, the FSB, Putin himself, have to live with this type of scenario playing itself out?
I mean, General Hodges, it is incredible, and it is incredible what they're showing us, right? That he's nowhere to be found, and as they're raiding his houses and showing those wigs and those things. What does this say to you from a military perspective? Putin says the deal is, or well, we're told, right? The deal is Prigozhin goes to Belarus. Belarus says, oh, he's not here. He's in Moscow or St. Petersburg, and he's completely MIA.
So 3 things, Aaron. First of all, how can anybody seriously consider negotiations with Russia and expect that they would live up to any agreement or that they'll be transparent in any way? I mean, the circus that we've been watching the last couple of weeks, tragic in that people are getting killed, but
Who would do business with Russia? Who would do business with Russia? Okay, y'all. My producer said don't do this zoom in, but I gotta do this zoom in right here because I want y'all to see what's in this man's room. Okay? Do y'all see what's in that man's room? Let me do the zoom in. Okay? Do that look like a man that's about business, that's ready for war, that knows what he's doing? If I seen this picture and somebody told me this was Joe Biden's room, he would get my vote. Off the room alone. Just by the room. That room look like my dude ready for anything. It look like my president is ready for anything. But you're gonna say is, yeah, man, I'm not gonna. Come on, dog. If anybody know, if you don't know, if you're watching this, whenever time you're watching this, don't forget, China already owns other countries. Owns. Not borrowing money, not receiving money. Own. Look it up. China owns India. You can fact check me all you want to. You're gonna be like, oh, you know what? He's right. Jing Pao, whatever his name. Okay. Come on, man. I'm not even gonna get deep off into this conversation with these guys and be answering. That's why some people be like, man, you need a little bit of a realistic person to come and talk about some of these things that we see, and people like, oh man, this is not gonna happen. Come on, man, really? Really? No. Y'all, ladies and gentlemen, I hate to change the subject, but I am not seeing somebody. No, Stephen A. Look, I want to get into this story because I just no, I'm not. The dude is trying to say Stephen A. Smith is declaring war on ESPN. Stephen A. Smith would not ever declare war where he eat, sleep, and
turn on our
shit. Okay, I'm just gonna play this story just to bunk it, just to let you people know, just in case I have any sports fans up in here. This story cannot nowhere nearly be true. Stop playing with me. Stop playing.
This isn't some corporate lackey taking the whole corporate line. I'm paying attention and I'm reading the tea leaves. And if I am lucky enough to be immune from it now, that does not mean that will be the case tomorrow.
I just finished watching a very important piece of content that really opened my eyes on what's going on at ESPN. And I'm kind of ashamed of myself for not putting this together in our last video. And I felt like we had enough content to bring you guys up to speed about what's going on in ESPN. So before we get to the content, make sure you drop like, subscribe, and turn on our notifications to help the channel grow. Now that we get all that out of the way, work! The NFL and NBA season are officially over, and I need something to hold me over until at least the NFL season comes back. So I've been playing prize picks for the WNBA and the MLB, and I've been fairly successful. It's a good way to get some extra action on games that I wouldn't really watch otherwise. I post my picks onto my Instagram story daily, and I've been hitting on a decent amount of them. And right now, when you use my promo code microphone, they'll double your deposit up to $100. Mic check 1212. What's going on, everybody? This has been one of the most unique rabbit holes that I think I have ever covered in my career. What started as me just discussing why Shannon Sharpe left Undisputed and broke his partnership with Skip Bayless, me throwing out a theory that possibly Pat McAfee had something to do with it, the fact that he left FanDuel TV resulted in a significant amount of capital being available to potentially make a huge acquisition, turned into something that is far more sinister going on at ESPN. So about a month and a half ago, Shannon Sharpe left Undisputed. And bear in mind, this wasn't a situation where Shannon Sharpe's contract expired. This was more of a situation where he was straight up bought out from his contract. It's like the difference between a player demanding his release from a team as opposed to him not being re-signed by said team. This happened a few weeks after Pat McAfee announced the fact that he was going to sign with ESPN for an undisclosed amount. Now, Andrew Marchand says that amount is about $18 million a year. Pat McAfee disputes the fact. I'm not going to go into numbers or specifics. I know a lot of people are disappointed at the fact that Pat is deciding to go to ESPN when he established himself as an independent reporter, but I personally will never hate on a man for doing what he believes is right for him and his business and his family. And given the fact that Pat McAfee just brought a child into this world, chances are I feel like his decision was fueled by the fact that his life would be significantly easier if he went to ESPN and he'd be exposing his product to a larger audience. At the end of the day, I have tremendous love, admiration, and respect for a man that was able to build his business from the ground up using social media and then getting to the point where the asset was so great that he is departing from a 4-year, $120 million deal from FanDuel TV to join the worldwide leader of sports, which is ESPN. Why am I bringing this up? Well, the original theory was the Shannon Sharpe and Skip Bayless just weren't getting along. I mean, you saw it on multiple occasions, whether it's jokingly throwing shade at one another over Baker Mayfield.
Mayfield is dead last in 2022 at QBR. Blah, blah, he dead last. I don't care, blah, blah, blah. You gonna let me talk? Because that's what you do.
If you'll stay on point on questions.
You never stay on point.
Okay, I'm about to stay on point. Tell me when it's my turn.
It's not your turn.
Okay.
Or if it's Skip Bayless disrespecting Shannon Sharpe's career when Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharpe were talking about Tom Brady.
This is just straight hate by a guy who's just...
Now you're going to take us down a rabbit hole explaining why Stephen A. Smith is going to war with his home base. You know Stephen A. Smith, don't forget, I hope he does mention Stephen A. Smith was one of the highest paid persons on ESPN for the last 3 years, something like that, I do believe, until these new contracts right here just came along.
jealous that he's still playing at a high level at 45. That's the point.
That's what you do. Every time I call something into question, I'm jealous. I did what I
never
did.
said you were jealous of Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, I did what I did. You make it seem like I was a bum. I'm in the effing Hall of Fame. Super Bowl.
So what?
So what?
We don't need to get into the absurdity of this clip. I've mentioned it multiple times on this channel, comparing a tight end of Shannon Sharp's caliber with the longevity that he has had to Tom Brady is just ludicrous. Now, eventually, of course, things would take a turn for the worst. You would have Skip Bayless tweeting out what some people thought was a controversial tweet about DeMar Hamlin, but I personally just believe this one tweet was taken out of context amongst 9 other tweets that Skip Bayless tweeted about the DeMar Hamlin situation, but this resulted in Shannon Sharp no-showing Undisputed the next day.
If you'd like to tweet us your emotions of the night about what happened, please do so. You can tweet us at @Undisputed. The last thing we want to do is offend anyone by trying to do what we always do, which is talk about sports. Obviously, my partner Shannon Sharp is not here today. I look forward to seeing him tomorrow.
And when Shannon Sharp would come back, he would criticize Skip Bayless for not even letting him get through his opening monologue without interrupting him.
Anybody have to be revived and fight for their life on the field. So they struck me a little differently because I remember seeing my brother paralyzed on the field temporarily, and he was able to regain focus. Skip tweeted something, and although I disagree with the tweet, and hopefully Skip would take it down.
I'm not going to take it down because I stand by what I tweeted.
Skip, let me finish.
All right, okay.
Go ahead.
No, you go. Okay.
I mean, I cannot even get through a monologue without you interrupting me. You could have came back, Skip.
Well, I thought,
Skip, just let.
I didn't know you were going to bring up.
No, I didn't want to yesterday to get into a situation where DeMar Hamlin was the issue, not get into your tweet. That's what I was going to do. But you can't even let me finish my opening monologue without you interrupting.
So this was the hypothesis for many people as to why Shannon Sharp decided to leave. I personally believe it was something completely different. I felt like Shannon Sharp saw the money that FanDuel TV had opened up as a result of Pat McAfee joining ESPN, asked Fox Sports for his release so he could go and pursue a bigger bag. Club Shay Shay's doing remarkable numbers. Skip Bayless gets paid an average of $8 million a year. When you compare that to $30 million a year, you can't even have a conversation about it at that point. So with that being said, I felt like the timing made a lot of sense. It happened within a few weeks of one another. I felt like Shannon Sharp's departure from Undisputed was fueled by the fact that he just outgrew the show. He joined in 2016. He built a remarkable brand for himself. He built a podcast that is very well respected on the side, and he was in a situation where he was always looked at as the little brother to Skip Bayless. Skip decided to choose the topics. Skip would consistently cut him off. I don't think they hated one another, but I just felt like it was time for Shannon to move on because he could make more money recording his show elsewhere while having more creative control. Why wouldn't you leave at that point? So originally my top theory was FanDuel TV, and then a new theory came into play, which we brought in our previous video. I'm sure you guys heard on Friday, multiple well-known anchors and analysts were laid off by ESPN. And the list is shocking. I mean, from the top, you have Jeff Van Gundy, Jalen Rose, Keyshawn Johnson, Max Kellerman, Suzy Kolber, Chris Chelios, Matt Hasselbeck, Steve Young, Rob Ninkovich, Neil Everett, Ashley Brewer, June Lee, LaFonso Ellis, Todd McShay, Jordan Cornette, Jason Fitz, and David Pollock. Of these personalities, I am shocked that they let go of Neil Everett, who's been a fixture on SportsCenter for the past 2 decades, Jeff Van Gundy, Jalen Rose, Todd McShay of all people. He shows up.
Some of those people, and I can go back to only a few, the reason why some of those people had to get let go, because they did start bringing up a lot of politics into sports. Number one person I'm going to pick on, and I'm only picking on him because he's black and I'm black, and I just think that's fair. Okay? I just think that's fair. At right now, we know we finna have a nigga moment. Okay? So, to go back to say, I'm gonna wait till you see his face. So
Everett,
I
Ashley
know
Brewer,
exactly who I'm
June Lee,
talking about.
LaFonso Ellis, Todd McShay, Jordan Cornette, Jason Fitz, and David Pollock. Of these personalities, I am shocked. News obvious were laid off. Heard on Friday, multiple well-known anchors and analysts were laid off by ESPN. And the list is shocking. I mean, from the top, you have Jeff Van Gundy, Jalen Rose.
I'm gonna pick on this brother right here. Cause for real, I mean, if you really look at the list didn't have too many brothers on it. Which, you know, you can look at ESPN and be like, okay, look, you can't say they're racist. Or can you? But no, Jalen Rose, for one, is one person that did put a lot of politics into sports. When he had the Jalen Rose show, he protested for them to take the Rushmore down. He protested for people to stop saying the N word. I mean, he brought a lot of these good or bad protests, however you want to take it. I'm even finna go there right now. However you want to take it, he did bring those to the mainstream media. He did it a lot. A lot of people who bring politics into it, and that's the reason why you're seeing a lot of people on this
Deshaun
list.
Johnson, Max Kellerman.
Oh, I'm gonna pick on Max, just so people won't say that I'm racist. Okay, Max over exempt when it came to racial and diversity and killings and police brutalities in America. I can go to somebody's clip and say Max Keller and racial topics or political topics, and I bet you're gonna see a shit ton of him talking about this. Sometimes I felt like he was baited into having to talk about these shows, because if people don't know where Max Kellerman come from, which a lot of people don't, people are like, well, Max Kellerman is just a sports analyst. No, Max Kellerman came from boxing. He was a boxing expert analyst. You know what I'm saying? And his words and how he put his words together were entertaining. It made you want to watch boxing when boxing was boring. And I can give him that credit. He does excite a conversation up. And that's what people are looking for. But when you're picking out certain things, and then you got people like Phil Jackson stop watching sports. You got people that put money in the sports, stop watching sports because they saying that they were seeing too much politics, and they're gonna make sure that their friends and their buddies stop watching sports. You see what I'm saying? So that's why a lot of people got that.
Colbert, Chris Chelios, Matt Hasselbeck.
Matt Hasselbeck is another person that advocated, and now this is dumb, and I'm going to say that this is dumb, but he advocated for a lot of black people to become coaches in the NFL. A lot of advocating for that. He protested for that, which I don't think was bad. I'm not going to say it's bad. I don't think it's bad. I think that's, you know what I'm saying? Hey, that's how you feel. That's how you feel. You should be able to express it. But at the time, when people like these people that got fired, all these people
Steve
that got
Young,
laid
Rob
off,
Ninkovich, Neil Everett, Ashley Brewer, June Lee, LaFonso Ellis.
When you see all these people get laid off like this, ask yourself one major question. Just one question. You ain't even got to answer it out loud. Was freedom of speech taken away? Was freedom of speech taken away? Think about that, y'all. Everybody who will ever watch this. I think this is, I talk about this a little bit more than other things, but freedom of speech is getting scarce. We have let a community, I'm just saying like this, we have let a president come along and able to take the values of words and let people say that this is hate speech. I think hate speech is a word that's misinterpreted here in America. Hate speech needs to be more on a terrorist outlook. Um, More like those who lash out or talk about expressing of hatred of killing and stuff like that. When words are used where you can damn near smell the blood on a piece of paper. I'm trying to draw a description of people writing out words and of meaning of hatred of not wanting of these things. But when you get to these type of, I think those are more like hate speech. You know, I hate America. I wish everybody in America would die. I dream about seeing bombs terrorize. Okay, yeah, you know that's a hate speech. That's a hate speech. But when somebody expresses, hey, I just don't understand why police officers are killing black people. This statistic is always happening. We need to stand up and march. We need to do that. That's not considered hate speech. Or, hey, I don't want to be part of the LGBTQ. I don't want to have to give you your pronouns and respect that. That right there shouldn't be hate speech. Just because I don't want to pronunciate stuff. And this is the slippery slope. This is the slippery slope that we're heading down. I did it again.
Mm-hmm.
This is the slippery slope that we are headed down. Freedom of speech. I should be able to talk about everything I just said. And YouTube should not be hitting me up talking about, oh, we need to fact check him. He was talking reckless. No, I was just explaining and going into the definition of why people got fired. And these people got fired because of certain allegations that they brought up to attention instead of talking about sports all the time.
Todd McShay, Jordan.
I would say that, or the government's trying to keep most of that hush hush.
Keep what hush hush?
Whatever. Well, not like hush hush, but like keep like from out of the main media stream. There's certain things they don't want talked about, and they're talking about it. So this is the consequence of. Go ahead, talk about it, but your consequence of talking about that when we told you not to, you got fired.
Ain't that the definition of freedom of speech? Yeah.
Yeah.
So, in the same token, if that's happening, if these guys that are highly paid professional speakers are getting talk, Roseanne just got her podcast canceled. Roseanne had a podcast up and running. She started questioning about what does the pronouns really mean. She started questioning her own people because, no offense, I'm not trying to offend nobody, but everybody know Roseanne is a woman. She loves women. She's part of the parade and all this stuff. But she's like, hold on, pump your brakes. I'm not part of this parade. This new parade right here is cancel me. No, don't cancel me. Out of control. No, man, I'm just saying it's out of control. But where does it fall into the line of it's got to be hate speech versus freedom of speech?
Cornette, Jason Fitz, and David Pollock. Of these personalities, I am shocked that they let go of Neil Everett, who's been a fixture on SportsCenter for the past 2 decades, Jeff Van Gundy, Jalen Rose, Todd McShay of all people. He shows up each and every draft season and has a back and forth with Mel Kiper. So a lot of people were joking on Twitter saying,
oh, they're just clearing up cap space so they can sign Shannon Sharp,
as if they were some major NFL team. And then we found out from none other than Stephen A. Smith that something a little bit more sinister is going on. Now, I don't want to rule out Shannon Sharp joining ESPN, but so far we've only had a report of Shannon Sharp talking to FanDuel TV. Now, chances are, if he does sign on with FanDuel TV, there is a chance that he could also make appearances on ESPN. I mean, Stephen A. Smith's podcast is partnered with FanDuel Sportsbook, but Stephen A. Smith says that something way more sinister is going on, and this did not get enough views on his YouTube channel, in my opinion. And I think what he is saying here is significant. So here's the dark truth about why ESPN truly laid everybody off. And this is crazy coming from the face of ESPN, which I consider Stephen A. Smith to be. So he starts out by mentioning the COVID pandemic and the effect it had on Disney's bottom line.
The coronavirus pandemic was not just in the United States of America, it was worldwide. You have any idea how much money was lost?
Stephen A. Smith mentions how Disneyland and Disney World and all these Disney parks and resorts were essentially closed, which is a huge revenue stream for Disney. So once you close all the parks for an extended period of time, obviously they're going to make significantly less revenue. I mean, we're talking about tickets to get into Disneyland. We're talking about food. We're talking about the gift shop. And we're talking about this throughout multiple Disneyland parks. And they were all closed. Stephen A. would continue into very interesting territory. He would bring up that Disney would lose $5.5 billion. And on top of this, they started to push a particular agenda.
Had folks boycotting or protesting outside the walls of Disney because they wanted Disney to speak up about the Don't Say Gay policy.
So Stephen A. mentions how Disney is pushed into a corner. They started to advocate for transgender rights, which, by the way, I personally am not the type of guy that will ever hate someone based off of who they are and the lifestyle they choose to do. I mean, I live in West Hollywood, for crying out loud. I've lived here for the past 20 years. So however you are, whoever you are, I'm not the type of person that'll judge you based upon your physical features or the color of your skin or whatever you choose to identify as. Rather, I will always judge you based upon your character and your actions. But my personal opinion aside, we're speaking on this from a 100% business lens. It's very important that you guys understand this, because although Disney made a political decision here, Stephen A. goes into how this affects Disney's revenue stream. You see, when you have a particular agenda where you want to be rather progressive in what your ideology is, then eventually, whenever specific things happen in the political space, the masses are going to expect for you to act in a specific way. In this particular instance, Stephen A. Smith brings up the Don't Say Gay bill.
But you knew DeSantis would come back. You knew folks on the right who supported him and supported that ideology.
Yet again, he went political. I just want y'all to notice that and see that. He went political. He had to go political to even try to make a war if he wanted to declare a war, because it had to go political. Because y'all knew that woke ideology thing, making everybody get accepted because everybody wants to be at the same parade at the same time, on the same block, on the same corner, on the same pole, dancing to the same tune, wearing the same outfit with the same flip-flops, with the same Kool-Aid, with the same hot dog. We all want to eat the same. Not true.
Ideology would speak out.
Which was a law that was passed in Florida by Governor Ron DeSantis, who is hoping to run for president either this year or way down the line as a Republican candidate, that states that public school teachers may not instruct on sexual orientation or gender identity in grades kindergarten through 3rd grade. So Stephen A. Smith meant
a lot of people want Santos to be a VP. They want him to fall back into the cut, chill. Let Trump win, let him be VP. Man, America be great again.
Mentions how at first the masses were boycotting Disney because, well, they didn't say anything about it. They stood silent. And once they started to feel the pressure to where they had to speak out on the situation, this resulted in Florida Governor Ron DeSantis declaring war on Disney. So their hands were tied. Either you alienate the people who agree with your ideology, or you go to war with the freaking governor, which quite literally resulted in Ron DeSantis declaring war on Disney. Now you're fighting a gigantic lawsuit against Florida's governor, who is also trying to cripple your brand as much as he possibly can. Again, not going into what's right and what's wrong, just saying that Disney is in a lot of financial hot water. And that's what Stephen A. Smith is saying here.
You knew eventually that could potentially have a detrimental impact on Disney's bottom line. Bringing in a plethora of things that affects your bottom line as a business.
Stephen A. then draws a parallel to other brands that are dealing with this, such as Budweiser with their endorsement of Dylan Mulvaney.
Budweiser's going through it because of the transgender person on one of its cans. They talk about how much money they're losing.
Then he brings up Chick-fil-A and issues that they may have had.
Chick-fil-A got into a controversy. They got a bit political. And people think that it's going to affect them.
And then he says something with so much passion that I can't do it justice by commentating on it.
You've got folks on other side of the ideology that galvanize and speak out against such positions. And how do they exact revenge? By affecting your bottom line.
Meaning, whenever you act in a particular way, whenever you promote a particular ideology, whenever you have people that don't agree with that ideology, how are they going to do whatever they can to ensure that you're going to make as little money as possible and that you fail? They boycott you, which in turn affects the amount of money that you're generating. It's nothing necessarily new. I know people that don't purchase Chick-fil-A based upon their conservative values. I know people that are
That was disgusting.
diehard Star Wars fans that stopped watching Star Wars because they felt like it got too woke. I know people that stopped watching the NBA once the NBA put Black Lives Matter on their courts. Stephen A. would go into why Pat McAfee's show was acquired. And this is a huge mistake that I made. Pat McAfee wasn't acquired by ESPN. Pat McAfee's show was acquired by ESPN.
How folks are being laid off, but Pat McAfee arrived at ESPN. Pat McAfee wasn't hired by ESPN. Pat McAfee was acquired by ESPN. He's not an employee. He's a product. I would know because I'm an employee who's trying to become a product.
So what's the relevance of all of this? I really recommend you watch this whole clip because even Stephen A. will kind of give you an idea of what he's trying to do. He said he wants to make himself a Pat McAfee type of figure who has a show based around him, which I think he's more than capable of doing. I think Stephen A. is a great speaker and very hardworking and very entertaining. I have no doubts he'll be able to make it. But what's the relevance of all of this? Well, this was just to dispute the fact that ESPN isn't clearing cap space for someone. ESPN laid off all of those major analysts as a result of the decisions they've made that put them in a situation where they lost $5.5 billion in revenue. And as a result of this, you're seeing many sports personalities that you grew up watching, that you were quite fond of, let go. It's crazy when the mistakes of one business get in the way of the livelihood of 20 people. But the crazy part is Stephen A. Smith himself said that he could possibly be next.
The difference between now compared to 2009 is that I won't be blindsided.
Now, I know what you might be thinking.
Mike, that's ridiculous. Stephen A. Smith's not going anywhere. Stephen A. Smith is the face of ESPN.
Well, yeah. Don Lemon was the face of CNN. He got fired after saying something that wasn't on brand and in line with CNN's values. Tucker Carlson actually joked about the fact that this happened. Then a few weeks later, Tucker Carlson, who was perceived as the face of Fox News, got fired. So I do agree with Stephen A. Smith, especially with the stance he's taking with how real he is being on his show on YouTube, especially after seeing how much these online personalities are making. I wouldn't be shocked if they let him go. But ideally, they do everything they possibly can to keep Stephen A. Smith and ESPN. So let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about all this, because we're getting into a very crazy time in sports media, I will admit.
Yeah. Ooh, wow.
Light skin, you, no dreads.
Woo, that's funny. Funny. We got jokesters in the house, y'all. But I kind of like this. I kind of like this new look. It's gonna take me a time to get used to it, but I think I'm gonna like this, y'all. We gonna get used to this. It keeps my desk open. I can talk. I can look. I can share. We can breathe. Smell good. I ain't gonna hold y'all, man. I got things to do. Got things to get into, man. I hope y'all have a good one, a blessed one, and a safe one. Till next time, ladies and gentlemen. Peace.